The early weigh-in podcast is back this week. UFC Baku going down in Azerbaijan. Early morning fight card for us here in the United States. Main event at lightweight between Azerbaijan's own Rafael Fiziev taking on, the surging, most exciting guy, Manuel Torres. We got a Shar Bullet co-main, one of the UFC's better prospects, in my opinion, and Abdul Rahman Yakayev on the card. I mean, from top to bottom, it's honestly a pretty solid fight card, in my opinion. As far as last week went, just a card for me to throw up here. Freaking Michael Aswell, man. Like we kind of were just talking about it. Like you get flown to Brazil to fight Lucas Almeida. You get flown to London to fight Luke Riley in a co-main. Like this was your gifted opportunity, man. Back at the Apex, Josh Van's, champ, best friend, cage side. You get a guy in Bolaños who's like 1-3 in the UFC on his last fight. Like to me, it was a setup, tailor-made performance and shit the bed, cut-worthy performance, like I told you. And I had him anchored in 2 parlays that cash with ease with the other legs, Andre Lima shit the bed as well, missed out on his round props. And then Carol Hosa, I knew that was always going to happen if she got taken down. I thought she would do a better job of keeping that fight on the feet. My only saving grace was your best bet doesn't go the distance in the main event there, down 4.76 units, ready to move on. Go ahead and let you kick us off, man. What's your thoughts on this main event? Who we got fighting?
Yeah, so we start off in the 155-pound division. Rafael Fiziev taking on Manuel Torres. Man, I'm actually a little bit surprised at the line, considering there's not much of a takedown threat from Torres and the cardio advantage in Fiziev's corner while we're in his home country. I thought that we're kind of getting a steal of the line, and maybe I'm already leading into this too quickly, but Fiziev is the pick for me, man. I just think this is going to be a striking battle, and we've got a clear striking advantage in the Fiziev corner. Of course, he's been chinned in the past, but so is Manuel Torres, and if it's me betting on who's going to land the biggest punch first, I think it's going to be Fiziev, and then all other paths that this goes, whether it goes deep into the rounds, I think that that's a Fiziev advantage. I think if somebody is going to lean on some wrestling chops, it's probably Fiziev, and probably late whenever he does it. I looked at their ages. We're talking 2 years apart. Like, it's not a significant difference. Sure, Manuel Torres has looked good in his past couple performances, but he's 2-1 in his last 3 performances. Like, it's not an insane sun run like some people would want to make you believe. He's been chin checked before, and I just think that the cards are stacked against him here. So give me Rafael Fiziev. I think we're getting in at an amazing price tag. There's a couple more spots on this fight particularly that I plan on talking about later, but as far as how I see this fight going, I think that Fiziev wins. I think he wins in the second round by knockout. And if Manuel Torres doesn't land that kill shot in the first 5 minutes, I think his game plan falls to shit.
Yeah, I think you and I ultimately come out on the same side. MMA math doesn't always add up for us, but, these guys they have a common opponent relatively not that long ago, Ignacio Bahamondes, and, another just pure striking fight. And we saw Fiziev tune him up for 15 minutes the last time we were in Azerbaijan. And, dude, Ignacio made Torres look like, honestly, just a complete amateur on the feet. He looked amateurish closing the distance and was dropped numerous times before he was finished. So it is kind of hard for me to think that there's not potential for Fiziev to just show there's levels to the striking again on Saturday, and like you said, at almost that pick 'em, you're not having to pay much for it, man. My issue with Fiziev is I do think that there's a clear decline. I do feel like he's dropped off a little bit. He's towards ACL now. He's looking a little bit slower, and he's getting hurt, man, and getting finished in fights where, Justin Gaethje's just a striking battle. Mauricio Ruffi is just a striking fight, and he's getting hurt. He's getting dropped. He's getting finished. And, like, Manuel Torres has more power than either one of those guys, probably more power than anybody Fiziev's ever fought. But he's a spaz, man. And, like, Gaethje and Ruffi are clean boxers, clean counter strikers. And I don't really see that from Torres. Like, I could see Torres having difficulty cutting off the cage and landing clean on Fiziev. And if he doesn't get him out of there with one shot, probably early, I mean, there's not a lot of process to the game at all. Like he's one hitter quitter, and it's in the first round. This guy's not seen a second round since 2018, and so like you said, man, the further this fight goes on, it clearly favors Rafael Fiziev. I feel like, again, like you said, more ways for him to win, and yeah, just the odds of Torres winning a striking battle or a decision in Azerbaijan over 25 minutes, it just feels extremely unlikely here. So if he doesn't get this done in the first round, I really think it starts to swing in the way of Rafael Fiziev, and I trust him way more in a 5-rounder. So I think we're coming out on the same side there with Rafael Fiziev, and Pick'em's minus 105. It's some good prices out there. Michelle Pereira, Char Magomedov at 185 in our co-main event. When I went to break down this fight, I actually thought Shara was going to be in a playable range. And when I saw the odds, it's not really the case at minus 350. But I don't think Michelle Pereira's landing any takedowns here. I think if he comes out here with a wrestling game plan after flying 20-something hours, cutting weight, already a questionable gas tank, I don't think he has the cardio to wrestle for 15 minutes here. And at the same time, dude, he's just looked done, almost cooked, like after the Fluffy fight. I mean, he's looked bad. He's getting knocked out. He's doing nothing in his fights. And even his last win against Zach Reese, like, dude, that was such a bad performance. I went to watch that back earlier. And I mean, yeah, sure, he wins, but Michelle Pereira is not the same Michelle Pereira that was knocking out, what's his name? Andre
Petrosky,
Yeah,
Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, Igor Patero.
It's not the same Michelle Pereira in my eyes. And so while I'm not high on Shara, I think he's got plenty of flaws. A fight on the feet feels like it massively favors him. I think he's going to double up on the volume. I think he makes Michelle super defensive by throwing all those kicks. I think he's got massive decision equity here. I think he's got a massive durability advantage here. So, yeah, man, again, I was kind of hoping he was in a playable range because I feel pretty confident Char Bullet gets his hand raised. What's your thoughts here on the co-main?
Kind of end up on different sides here. Like, I think that this is all screaming to at least try out Michelle Pereira. Obviously, if the lines were closer, I might have a different opinion. But we're talking about a guy in Sharabutin Magomedov where he has one path to victory, and that's hoping that this fight does stay on the feet. Sure, Michelle Pereira hasn't in his last few been able to initiate much grappling, effective grappling at that. But, what's he supposed to do against Anthony Hernandez or Abus Magomedov with a Dagestani wrestling background? Even Kyle Dawkins, like, it's a first-round knockout. We didn't really get to see that fight play out. With Zach Reese, he's trying to take down a grappler, and Zach Reese is a full-blown man, like he has that country boy strength, and that's going to be a tough dude to grapple, but he did get some grappling success there. So in a fight where he's training with Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis and being able to formulate a game plan, I think that he knows what he needs to do coming into this fight, and relying on Sharabutin Magomedov, who I actually have some question marks of my own about how good he actually is. I think that this is a potential must-play spot at plus 300 is what we're getting at here. Marc-Andre Barriault, if you're 1-1 going into the third with Marc-Andre in 2025, 2026, I mean, there are question marks there, and I think that Michelle Pereira could at least enact a game plan similar to Marc-Andre for that first round. And then when it is on the feet, I think he's going to be able to put together a much better performance than Marc-Andre was. Plus, you don't really know exactly which Shara Bullet is going to show up. We've seen him out of shape. We've seen him in shape. And I really do question where he's at in his, MMA career. We've got similar ages. There's not a massive age gap here. And outside of this being in Shara Bullet's home, like near his hometown where he's from, I think that this is a much closer fight than it shows on the odds. So I'm not stoked betting Michelle Pereira in 2026, but I do think I'll probably find myself on him. There's just more paths to victory, and it's a plus 300 underdog. Like, it's tough to just pass that up. I certainly would not trust putting Shara in any of my parlays.
Right.
So dog or pass spot for me. I'll take Michelle Pereira for what it's worth.
I like it.
Moving on to my fight of the night, I am going all the way down to the bantamweight division, second fight of the night. Bekzat Almakhan taking on Jean Matsumoto. It's a closely lined fight for a reason, man. I don't have a pick with a ton of conviction, but I am going to say that Jean Matsumoto will win. It's tough for me to say that because Bekzat does have that one shot kill power in his hands, and Jean doesn't wear damage well, and I think that that's going to be tough going if this does see the judges' scorecards. I think that's going to be a tough one to overlook for the judges. But as long as Jean Matsumoto keeps that pressure on him, I do think that he's going to be the minute winner here. He does a lot of things really well. He's super young. And I just think that he is a better athlete, a little better sized for the weight class. I know he's an inch shorter, but he carries more muscle. He has that volume, and I think that that's going to serve him well in a fight that I expect to see the judges' scorecards. Bekzat, even when he does grapple, he doesn't do a great job of controlling his opponents. And I think Jean Matsumoto is the type of guy to make him work, even if he does get taken down, and make him pay when he's on the feet. So there's no way I'm trusting Bekzat's power at 135 pounds for somebody who I don't think fills out for the weight class the best. He had a couple of good performances the first round against Umar, but I think Jean Matsumoto has kind of been dealt a couple bad cards, and being only 26 years old, I think that this is his time to turn around. He's got all the accolades that you could want. I think he has a little bit higher ceiling in the UFC. So yes, this is kind of like a litmus test that the UFC is giving Jean Matsumoto here, but I do think that he'll be the one who gets his hand raised on Saturday. So tough, close fight, but I will be going with the Brazilian.
Yeah, man, find myself on the same side there. Fight of the night for me, taking Asu Almabayaev, taking on Charles Johnson with the new UFC AI rankings, shaking everything up. Fiziev's no longer a ranked lightweight, so this is now the only ranked matchup on the card here. And I think it plays out to be a pretty close fight. Neither one of these guys typically pull away in their wins, typically winning on some pretty thin margins. And on that Asu side, dude, this is a guy that everybody was knocking, coming into the UFC because of that split decision loss to Zach Makovsky. And I was the exact opposite. He's a guy that I thought was going to go far in this division, going to be a top flyweight. He's very quietly amidst a 6-1 record in the UFC, man, with the only loss being to Manel Kopp. And while it might not have changed the outcome, there was clearly an eye poke and things leading up to that finish. It's his limitations on the feet probably hold him keep him from reaching a belt. He's a bit small for the division, but dude's so intentional with his wrestling, man. He makes very smart decisions in the grappling. He wears on you. He knows where he's good. And in every one of his wins, man, he's landing multiple takedowns, 5+ minutes of control. And Charles Johnson typically gives up more than one takedown and more than 5 minutes of control in his fights, especially in the first round. And so I do see Asu lined as the favorite here. But should he be minus 250, man? That's kind of where I'm asking myself because of the thin margins. It is a completely different matchup, but Charles Johnson's got, not just wins, like finish wins over Josh Van and Loner Kavanaugh, two really good guys in the division, man. And he's just one of these guys that, sometimes he shows up and sometimes he doesn't. But when he does show up, I mean, he can compete with damn near anybody in the flyweight division. He's got a really good gas tank and a really good work rate. And it kind of brings me back to the thin margins talk, like Asu, while he's on top, is not very dangerous. And so a lot of his groundwork could be wiped out with a good sequence of shots from Charles on the feet. And so, like you talked about in your fight, I don't really think I have the highest, the greatest read on this fight, but I think it's a super close fight. I think it's probably one of the higher level fights on the card. You got two opposing styles, one trying to keep it on the feet, one trying to take him down to the mat. I think it's a good fight. That's why it's my fight of the night. But ultimately, I am going to side with Asu just because, dude, when you can take Charles Johnson down, he can make you work sometimes, but it can also make him be, can decrease the volume. And, I'm on the Asu side, man, but I could see it very well being a split decision, 29-28 across the board or something. So that's why it's my fight of the night. And again, only ranked matchup on the card.
Okay, so for my underdog of the card, technically right now he is an underdog on Bet Online. It's minus 107, minus 113. Abus Magomedov versus Mikhail Olajaychuk. I think Abus is getting completely overlooked here, man. The type of guys that he's losing to are guys that I don't think Mikhail Olajaychuk could stand in the octagon for 5 minutes, much less go to decision with a few of them. Caio Baralho being one of my prime examples. I think Caio absolutely melts Mikhail Olajaychuk. I think Abus has a little bit sharper striking. He fights long. He has some grappling in his back pocket. He's losing to guys like Joe Pyfer and Caio and Sean Strickland, but those are all guys who I think dog walk Mikhail Olajaychuk. And I kind of give that out of the guys that Abus is winning against, the Bruno Ferreiras, the Michel Pereira, I actually think that Mikhail Olajaychuk actually fits perfect in that category versus the guys that he's losing to. And people are kind of discrediting Abus with just some really unfavorable matchmaking. In Mikhail Olajaychuk's last fight, he was a minus 550 or minus 600 against Marc-Andre Barriault. I think I played Marc-Andre Barriault because I know deep down, Mikhail Olajaychuk isn't that good of a fighter. He hits hard and he tries hard, but we've seen him just outclassed a few times in the UFC. And I think that Abus has the ability to simply just look like a better fighter all around in the octagon on Saturday. And we're getting him at an underdog price tag here. So give me Abus Magomedov for my underdog of the night, minus 107, hopefully even better by the time fights come on Saturday.
Yeah, I think you'll get plus money by fight time. Underdog for your boy, Mikhail Olajaychuk. Took it to plus 120, and he's now trending toward the favorite. So, yeah, both of us may be getting plus money on our guys here. I think I'm getting the best Mikhail Olajaychuk that there's been in the UFC. You know, he's dropping down to middleweight. He's taking the career serious. He's at a real gym and fighting nerds, not in his garage and stuff in Poland. He's got a brother in the UFC doing his thing now, training with him full time. It's got to help your career. I think it's just all huge things in the favor of Mikhail Olajaychuk right now. And in terms of the matchup, I favor him vastly in durability and heart. Like, you know, I think he could, when the going gets tough, man, like I think I trust Olajaychuk a little bit more here. And in terms of gas tank, I don't think either one of them's like crazy impressive, but it kind of goes back to fighting through it, you know, like I don't think Abus does a very good job of fighting through and reaching that second wind. I think Mikhail Olajaychuk is so live to win round one at a high clip to even finish the first round. He's a fast starter. He gets in your face early, and I think his forward pressure is gonna do him well. You know, I think that forward pressure, that boxing is going to negate a lot of the kicks Abus likes to throw. I think the boxing advantage, the body work, and ultimately, man, I'm calling it now. I think one of the body shots are going to curl Abus up against the cage, and I like Mikhail Olajaychuk inside the distance. I got him at plus 120, my underdog this week, man. Head to head.
It is what it is. I mean, we like a closely lined fight.
Yeah.
Got some good reads on it. We might both get plus money. It's not the worst thing I've heard. For my parlay piece, I feel like we should have talked about this beforehand because I know where I'm going with it. I think that maybe you have a similar read. It will be Abdul Rahman Yakyaev inside the distance.
Yeah, talk about it.
All right, minus 325, minus 300 on some books. I think this is just honestly, I don't know why the UFC is trying to do this to Julius Walker. I know this is his last fight on his contract, so maybe it's a negotiating piece, just kind of proving that, hey, look, we'll still keep you, but you're not elite. Like, you just fought an elite fighter, and this is how you did. Abdul Rahman Yakyaev has got a while until I think he's actually battle tested, and it's not going to be against somebody in Julius Walker. I think he goes out here and just mops the floor with him first round any way he wants it. Julius Walker has had some timid fights in the past, and this just isn't the guy that you can be timid with. And Yakyaev inside the distance minus 300 as a parlay piece.
Yeah, man, I'm going to double down, but, you know, It is what it is. You got two people giving you a parlay piece. You should feel pretty confident putting it in there. I opted just the money line at minus 500, line like 83%, and I think it should be like 90%. Man, I really do think there's still like a 7% edge there. I think he's got him covered everywhere. He's the way better striker. He's the way better grappler, way better gas tank. We've seen him go 5 rounds before on the regional scene. Far more finishing upside. Julius is an athlete turned fighter, and you can absolutely tell. It's not a wrestler turned fighter, like it's an athlete turned fighter. His skill set is so green. Like even when he gets in the most dominant positions on the mat, he still doesn't know what to do. Like even on the feet, he still looks very amateurish. A lot of his game is clinch work and putting you up against the cage and kind of using that athleticism and that gas tank. And I don't think it works here. So yeah, I like Yakayev. I like Yakayev under 1.5.
Moving on to the best bet of the night, I will be going back to our opener of the podcast, Fiziev versus Torres, under 2.5 rounds, minus 175. I think it's an absolute steal, and I think you're covering the majority of both fighters' win conditions. When it comes to Manuel Torres, we talked about it. He's never seen a second round in the UFC. If he has, it's been 8 years since it's happened. That's how he should get this win, is catching Fiziev early. And then for the Fiziev side, I think he needs maybe 1 round to download some information, find his timing. And I think early in that second round, he's really going to touch up Torres, and we're going to see Torres wilt. I do not see it getting midway through the third round, which is why the under 2.5 still sitting at minus 175 seems like an absolute steal and will be my best bet of the card.
Same exact line for me, minus 175. I'm taking the money line on Farman Hassanov.
Okay. No, we're talking about the same fight again. Yeah. I was like, damn, dude, we really got to start talking.
No. Yeah, I've taken the Farman Hassanov. I opted just parlay him with Yakayev at basically pick 'em price tag. Hassanov, I'd have to look through the whole card, but like off the top of my mind, dude, his wrestling and grappling advantage here might be the biggest advantage anybody has on the card in my eyes. And dude knows where his bread is buttered. Like he's not coming out here to strike with Nolan. He's not coming out here like Sushikayev and toying around with his food. I bet there's a takedown shot in under a minute and a half. And on top, nasty finishing ability, nasty ground and pound. And I just think the skill level on the mat here is night and day. Nolan, good boxer. But, man, we've seen him beat, by giving up top position multiple times. He's got bad sub defense. I kind of feel like the UFC's already shown you what they're going to do with Nolan's career. They signed him short notice to fight, Sursakayev, and now you're flown 25 hours across the world to fight a guy in his home country of Azerbaijan, So I think the writing's on the wall. There's a lot of things that favor Hassanov here. I saw an interview with him where he was like, we're going to show this boy what wrestling's about. Like, I don't know, man. I think he's going to be very intelligent with the game plan and go out here and exploit Nolan on the mat. So Farman Hassanov minus 175. That's my best bet this week.
Okay, so moving on to our quick picks of the night. We start off with Tahir Abdullayev taking on Jefferson Nascimento. I'm doing a little bit of wiki capping here. Fights lined really close. I mean, obviously, Abdullayev is a little green not green. He just seems like they've put him on this card specifically because of where we are in the world.
Right.
That being said, he has a little bit of a fraudulent record whenever I look over his wins, where I see Jefferson Nascimento has fought a little bit higher caliber fights. He's made it into championship rounds before, and I think that experience is going to take him a long way. So even though Tahir has more fights on his record, I think the more meaningful fights have been fought by Jefferson Nascimento. So when pick'em odds are plus 105, I'll be taking Jefferson Nascimento in the first fight of the night.
Yeah, man, you see him at 21-3 from Azerbaijan, but there's a reason Nascimento is a slight favorite here. One's a bigger favorite in opening. I'm on the Nascimento side as well, man. Bekzat Almakhan, Gene Matsumoto. I know you talked about this fight. I think Gene Matsumoto's durability and grappling and cardio down the back half of this fight will get it done. He's also got a dangerous guillotine you got to worry about, but I do think it's the grappling from Gene Matsumoto down the stretch that is going to win him this fight.
Yep, give me Gene Matsumoto as well. Denis Donchenko versus Theodore Bergin. Again, didn't do too much research on this fight, but to me, shows a lot of potential. I think that he's a heavy favorite for a reason, and only 24 years old. I do think they're bringing people here with an 8-3 record to kind of get squashed by him.
Yeah, man. Daniil's finished like 10 of his 13 wins, and you got a guy here in Theodore taking a fight on short notice. Like Daniil takes the fight to you, and 7.5 minutes under 1.5 is sitting at plus 105. It's like the biggest favorite on the card. I like a Daniil finish, and so I'm really tempted to look at that plus money under 1.5 there. Con Offley taking on Javier Reyes. Con Offley's got me before, man. Maybe on more than one occasion. I'm going back to the well here. I have a small 1-unit tracked on Javier Reyes. I think Con Offley's best part to his game is his grappling, and maybe down the stretch, maybe Reyes slows down a little bit and could find himself on bottom. But I think he's such a dangerous grappler, such a fantastic opportunity, with his submission opportunities, that I think Con Offley grappling kind of plays into what Javier Reyes wants. And on the feet, I think it's Javier Reyes all day. I like him to win inside the distance here.
Yeah, Con Offley, I've actually cashed on him a couple of times now. I think he's an opportunistic fighter, but I don't think he's that good. And he's been able to capitalize on those opportunities in his last couple fights. But I think given a fair fight for 15 minutes, Javier Reyes should win it. So, yeah, I don't hate the bet. What number did you get it at?
Minus 160.
Yeah, so better than the line currently is on any book right now. I think it's a plus EV bet. I like the Javier Reyes pick. Nursultan Ruziboyev versus Andre Puliev. Ruziboyev being this big of a favorite against anybody gives me a little bit of pause. We've seen him out grappled by strikers. We've seen him, just drop spots that I'm not exactly a huge fan of. He's a big dude for the weight class, but outside of that, I don't have too much to say about him. Where Puliev is also a really large guy. He's been counted out a couple of times. He's, had a couple tough matchups against Atiba Gutierrez and Christian Leroy Duncan, and I think Ruziboyev is much more his caliber. I think this fight's a little bit closer than it shows on paper. So give me Puliev to get the upset. I'm not sure if I actually get there though.
Yeah, you made a big talking point, man. His last two opponents are head and shoulders better than who he's going to see on Saturday, and you're getting a very generous line on Puliev. I'm just, man, while we've seen his last two struggle on the feet, I think it's the grappling, the defensive grappling here against Nursultan that he's going to struggle with. I think Ruziboyev could find some top time and win this one, but I'm with you, man. Line screams dog or pass, but the pick for me is Ruziboyev. He's not a guy I like, though, man. We were that close to cashing Dustin Stoltzfus against him at big plus money. Like we've tried to fade this guy before. He's not our favorite. I do think I side with him. Yakyaev taking on Julius Walker. I mean, he's a parlay leg for both of us, man. I like Yakyaev inside the distance myself.
Yep, same. Moving on to Farman Hassanov taking on Eric Nolan. I'll lean Farman Hassanov for no real reason. Just give me the local guy to get the job done against Eric Nolan.
Yeah, dude, this is prelim main event. They're not flying Eric Nolan halfway across the world for an upset. He's 8-4, struggles on the ground, and Hassanov's going to come out here and land a takedown early and I think put this guy away. Kicking off the main card, our biggest disagreement of the night, Abus Magomedov taking on Mikhail Olegzaychek. I'm on Olegzaychek's side. You can go to our dog section if you want to hear a little bit more there.
Yeah. I'll be taking Abus Magomedov here, getting severely disrespected in my opinion. Staying in the same weight class, 185 pounds, Bruno Ferreira versus Ikram Alaskarov. I've got Alaskarov in the fantasy league. I'm sure rooting for him, but if we had a trap section of the card, I would be this one. I think Alaskarov should win, but both of these fighters have shown bad chins in the past, and Bruno Ferreira throws with heat. I will be picking Alaskarov, but I'm not placing him in any parlays, that's for sure.
I feel pretty good about Alaskarov. Like, I don't know. I don't think Bruno's going to land on him, and I think Bruno could get severely grapple fucked here. I don't like his gas tank either. Ikram's been knocked out by Hamzat and Robert Whitaker, so
I mean, I like drawing comparisons to the RoboCop fight because we have seen RoboCop have a lot of success in that first round until he wasn't, and that's all that it really takes with somebody like Bruno Ferreira. But then on the flip side, in that rematch, it was how it should have went the first
Yeah.
fight and how I think this one will go with Aliskerov. It's just tough to trust somebody.
I mean, yeah, anybody with that much first round power, is always scary to bet against when you're laying minus 300. So I'm with you. I still Almabayaev, Charles Johnson, my fight of the night. I think Asu's going to do enough with the wrestling to get the job done, and it might just be enough for Charles Johnson to cry. He should have won, but he's just notorious for dropping round one, and he's going to give up takedowns. I think it's a hard fight for him to win on the scorecards here, so I'm on the Asu side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be like the Zalgis fight early on in Charles Johnson's career. We're going to see a split decision. Don't know who it's going to go to.
Yep.
Give me the dog, though. So I'll take Charles Johnson, but simply because I think the fight's going to be close. And Charles Johnson, as he's shown, can be the best in the world on any given night. So, yeah, give me Charles Johnson. Nazim Sadikov taking on Mateus Camilo. Not a lot of conviction in this fight. Nazim Sadikov will ultimately be the pick for me. It's where he's fighting. It's him coming off of this loss against Faraz Ziem. I think he might be more eager to get a dub than ever. So give me him over Mateusz Camilo.
I've seen a guy who will, fight life and death, fighting a guy who will kind of slow down and quit on himself, And so while Camilo has the skills, I think, to make the fight kind of close early. As this gets into round 2 and 3, as anybody starts to face adversity, I think Sadikov starts to pick up the pace, and I think it starts to snowball downhill pretty fast on Camilo. So I'm on the Nazim Sadikov side there. Co-main event, I know we're split here as well. Michelle Ferreira taking on Shahar Magomedov. On the Shahar Magomedov side, it's just pretty much because I don't think Michelle is going to be able to grapple. And if he's not going to be able to grapple, I like Shara here.
I mean, honestly, I think the UFC is just running out of beatable guys for Shara to fight. Michelle Pereira is probably one of those beatable guys, but the price tag is what's getting me. And ultimately, I have to play it if I think that there's value. So give me Michelle Pereira. Again, not like super stoked on making that bet, but it is what it is. And then moving on to the main event, Rafael Fiziev taking on Manuel Torres. I'll be on the Fiziev side. I think he has more paths to victory. I think that we can encapsulate both these guys' win conditions with the under 2.5. But Fiziev, I just think, is the better striker here in a striking matchup.
A little bit of chalk, but I think that under 2.5 is the way I'm siding as well. And on the Fiziev money line there with you as well. That's all the fights at UFC Baku. Remember, early morning fights going down for us. Looking to both get on track this week. We are off next week. No fight card. But after that, man, UFC 329, the return of Conor McGregor, taking on Max Holloway at 170. Excited for that. As always, y'all like and subscribe. We'll see you then.
Peace.